everyone, a very good morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing very well today. You are with me, Maha Mukhtoom, and the very dashing Shahzad Khan. Assalamu alaikum, good morning Shahzad.
Wa alaikum assalam, and a very good morning to you too as well. And
are you awake?
Yes, I am awake, and everybody who's tuned into PTV World, the day is Friday, it's 18th of Ramadan today. And we hope that, you know, your Ramadan is going just perfect, superb and fine as well at the same time. Yes. And you are taking benefit of our first segment, which is
the teachings of the Quran, where we're exploring different verses from each Sabara, each section of the Quran, and there's 30 parts.
Yes.
And what we're doing is we're studying the relevance and how it is still relevant to us in the 21st century, how we can adapt it to our way of life, how we can make our lives better, and actually how it serves humanity as well, because that's what it's about. It's about being human, and it's about being a good person at the end of the day.
Exactly. And at the same time, you know, just before we indulge into conversation, my wardrobe's by Monarchy as well, and they've got outlets over here in Blue area and in Barrier Town as well.
I love the waistcoats. They're very smart.
they are very amazing, and I've loved the material as well. But other than that, thank you very much for for lending me your clothes.
Yeah.
And thinking that I can probably wear them on screen and people will be inclined to buy it.
Absolutely. And today you're matching slightly in line with the set.
Really?
Yeah,
with the sofa though.
Yeah. But but you're still standing out, so it's still good.
Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you very much.
That's why I highlighted that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, now getting back to where we left. Today we'll be discussing Surah Kahf, and we'll be speaking about the Dajjal, but symbolically, not how as a person he or she is going to be. I don't know whether it's going to be a person or what, but we'll find out what it is symbolically. And for that particular reason, we have got Mr. Yousuf Raza with us, who's a student of Quran as well, and he's a psychiatrist. And assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Wa alaikum assalam, I'm doing very well, thank you very much. How are you guys?
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much for showing up.
And you're looking very smart today as well on a Friday.
My wardrobe's by my mom, not my wife.
Excellent. Either way,
maybe this is my dad's kurta, I don't know.
So you just wanted to wear kurta?
Yeah.
No, wonderful.
Koi bhi shalwar kameez kar dena.
Okay, so what are we going to be discussing today?
We're discussing Surah Kahf today. As most people, it's very popularly understood that Surah Kahf is recited for protection against the trial of the Dajjal.
And on Fridays.
And on Fridays, yes. So today is Friday, so it's apt that we talk about Surah Kahf or the first few ayat of Surah Kahf and get something of a concept of an understanding of Dajjal, and like you said, it's not going to be a very literal description as to how he will be as a person, whether it's going to be a he or a she or however, whatever it's going to be when he shows up. We don't know for now.
When he shows up, see? That's something which is very tricky.
But the hadith refer to him as a he. But again, alright. So what we need to understand for that in the background of whatever is going on in these days, Dajjal itself means deception, something like an imposter, like something pretending to be what it's not, right? So as far as the Quran is concerned, repeatedly the Quran alludes to the fact that the possibility of dunya, the world, being a Dajjal, being a deception, in that it is taken in as an end. That this is not something that leads to something else, or this is not a means to something greater, rather it is an end in and of itself.
But is it a symbol of doomsday that it's nearby?
Dajjal, yes. Dajjal, coming of Dajjal is a symbol of doomsday, but scholars have spoken about like before coming of the Dajjal, however that is going to be, we're not sure except for the explanations that we get in the hadith. But before that, the stage is being set for an ideological perspective that is being developed of Dajjal, Dajjal,
deception.
Because in the hadith it says that he has one eye. So from the very first day we've been talking about how the Quran alludes towards grasping knowledge, acquiring knowledge with both your eyes open, with the eye that is open towards revelation, as well as the eye that is open towards acquired knowledge, the scientific, philosophical sources of knowledge that you have. So you have both eyes open. Now, I'll get into the ayats, and then we'll talk about how they relate to the particular ideology that is prevalent in the world today, how that came about in the context of the ayah, and how did it make the Messenger ﷺ feel personally when he foresaw that this is something that may be happening. So the surah begins, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitab. Alhamd means praise and gratitude, not just praise, it also means gratitude, because you can praise something but you owe it nothing. But gratitude entails that there is a sense of responsibility on me that I have to do something for the one that I am praising. So all praise and gratitude is for Allah, الَّذِي أَنزَلَ عَلَىٰ عَبْدِهِ الْكِتَابِ, the one who revealed the book, i.e. the Quran, to his slave Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. وَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ عِوَجًا, and he did not put any crookedness, very straightforward book. قَيِّمًا لِيُنذِرَ بَأْسًا شَدِيدًا مِنْ لَدُنْهُ, absolutely straight to warn about a terrible war, especially from him. Now this ba'san shadidan is interpreted to mean the hereafter, the day of judgment, or a lot of interpreters talk about this as the Armageddon that other traditions talk about as well. Judaism, Christianity talk about it, and we find mention of it in the ahadith as well, that a great war is going to happen towards the end of times, and it's going to be inexplicable. We don't know what's going to be happening, who's killing, what he's killing for, and why he's getting killed, and there's going to be a lot of bloodshed. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed. وَيُبَشِّرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ الَّذِينَ يَعْمَلُونَ الصَّالِحَاتِ أَنَّ لَهُمْ أَجْرًا حَسَنًا, and bring to the believers who act righteously the good news that for them is an excellent reward. مَاكِثِينَ فِيهِ أَبَدًا, they will live therein forever. وَيُنذِرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ وَلَدًا, and to warn those who say that Allah took a begotten son, that God took a son for himself, to warn them against this particular ideology. Why? Because now the Messenger ﷺ's concern is going to come in the next few ayat as well. مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ وَلَا لِآبَائِهِمْ, that's because they do not have any knowledge about it, nor did their forefathers. I.e., this claim is not based in any sound knowledge that comes from revelation or from the other source that the Quran recognizes as an authentic source of knowledge. When that happens, when religious authorities give themselves the right to make claims which are not founded in any sound source of knowledge, any authentic source of knowledge, they've given themselves divine rights now. And now there is a very huge possibility, actually a probability, that those rights are going to be abused. Okay. Turn the clock back, medieval Europe, whatever happened, in the name of Christianity, we're not going to call those actual teachings of Christianity, of course, but what the church did at that time, in unison with the kings of that time, the monarchy of that time, they would say that these are divine rights of the king. If people are being oppressed, if people are being massacred, if they are being exploited in whatever way, then the church would forbid the masses to say anything in rebellion, to lodge a protest in any way, saying you have to be patient. Why? Your reward is in the hereafter. These are the divine rights of the kings. They get to do whatever they want to, and we have to be their loyal subjects. We owe them loyalty based on our religion. As a result of that, the kings would hold the religious representatives in high esteem. Their churches had rights, they would get funding, and all of those things were going on. To just give an example of the horrendous things that were happening at that time is when, for example, we all heard of the Inquisitions. How anyone would think freely, or because this is the time, mind you, we know these times as the Dark Ages, but these are Dark Ages of Europe. As far as the Muslim world is concerned, this is the prime time of education. This is Muslim world at its peak with respect to discovery, innovation, with respect to inventions. All of those things are going on.
Monarchies as well.
Yeah, so the people are coming from Europe. They're going to Muslim universities in Spain. They're going to Baghdad. They're like, whoa, what is going on here? This is a whole new world. Yeah. Like so much freedom of speech. There's freedom of thought. There's people are. All of this is going on, and what do we have? We're not allowed to open our mouths. We can't say that the earth is round. It hits flat because that's what it is. We can't even offer a scientific opinion. And you know, your life is threatened. Your books will be burnt. You will be burnt if something like this is happening. Why? Because when your knowledge is founded, when you've given yourself just out of assumptions or speculations, if you've given yourself that right, and you say this is sound knowledge and people have to accept it, then when rationality comes in, when reason comes in, when scientific observations and knowledge based off of those things come in, then they challenge the very foundations that your ideas are standing on. What you're standing on, and your bread and butter is standing on, and your authority in the land is standing on.
So basically what we're going through right now in like, you know, certain countries, and you know what you're describing from back there is still happening today.
It is still happening. See, because those ideas. Now, what happened as a result? Because the people are getting these impressions, learning these things from the Muslim world, and they're not being allowed to express them in their land. Mind you, that's not the only thing that's happening. There are other things that are happening at that time. For example, it was a custom that if anyone was to get married, any lady was to get married in a particular place, then the lord of that particular county or that particular place, she would spend the first night with him and then go to her husband. That was the level of oppression.
And when was that happening?
This was happening in medieval Europe. This was happening in the Dark Ages, and this was all.
And these are stories too that, you know, like, I mean, that this has happened. It's happened in people's histories and past. So we should learn from this.
Yeah. So now, if all of that is happening, then necessarily people are they're getting frustrated. We're not allowed to think. We're not allowed to protest. All of these things are happening, and we're not allowed to say anything. What's going on? Now that protest, especially of the intellectuals of the time, the protest is, we need to think, we need to explore, we need to learn. Francis Bacon, knowledge is power. All of those other thinkers under his, you know, the ideology that he gave, science flourishes, thinking flourishes, religion is being pushed to a corner. Eventually the Renaissance happens. With that, however, now that scientific thinking and all of those areas have been opened up for people, and there's huge protests and a lot of struggle that they had to struggle to, but because it is in a reaction to a particular extreme mindset, and that extreme mindset being a religious representation, it's hallmarked by three things.
And what are those?
Religion talks about God.
Yes.
Forget God. Let's talk about the universe. Focus all our study, all our energies, all our understanding. Let's try to understand the universe.
Okay.
Religion talks about afterlife. To hell with it.
Really?
Let's talk about this life. Well, how can we make it better? How can we make it, you know, more useful, more effective, more luxurious, more comfortable, more pleasurable, convenient, all of that. Third, religion talks about this soul. We see no soul.
Yeah.
Soul, mole, whatever. We talk about this body now. Its pleasures, its beauty, everything to do with this. You see how that dualistic framework that we spoke about before is coming back? Because now religion has, you know, it's made these, even it has come into religion itself, unfortunately, that these are for some reason mutually exclusive realities. So now the reaction is fine. If they are mutually exclusive, out with yours, in with ours. In with ours. So now the ideology that prevails, the thought that prevails, packaged with the scientific thinking, is predominantly atheistic, is predominantly this life oriented, predominantly to do with the physical dimension of the human being alone.
So it's actually about forgetting the sole reason why you were born.
Now, yes, so the meaning
not even
aspect
forgetting,
of life,
also some people are, we're saying they're deviating or they are deciding to choosing other paths.
But then what are the symbolic impacts of the jaw?
Right. So now, as we say, like you said, the meaning aspects, because these things give your life meaning. These things are what make your life meaningful. This gives a foundation for morality, for being good, for not being treacherous, for not betraying your trust, and all of these things. When you've closed that eye, the eye of the unseen world, or the eye towards these are things, realities.
The eye of faith.
The eye of faith, what you get from revelatory knowledge. A revelation is sidelined. It's explained away. This is the time where, at its climax, people like Friedrich Nietzsche, Karl Marx, Sigmund Freud, absolutely brilliant intellectuals, they re-explain things which were previously explained on the basis of religion. They even explain the reality of religion as being nothing but either a product of your, thwarted sexual energies, or a product of people wanting authority over others, and they want to oppress others.
Because they are
and also the inability to accept that there's nothing beyond it. They're talking about a very human, like it's a human creation.
Marx calls it opium of the masses.
Yes.
Just drug them up, just give them this religion drug, and they're going to be just lost in it.
But why do we even quote them? Because they were non-believers anyways.
Because it doesn't stop them from being brilliant minds.
So let it be.
Now, the thing is, the reason why that
you don't close one eye.
Exactly.
You have to keep both eyes open.
The thing is, why did these people say what they said? And it's not that what they're saying is wrong totally.
Okay, how?
They may be saying, they may be absolutizing their claims, that's in its own place, but the fact is this was religion's own function. Religion was supposed to be self-corrective. If you pick up any text of any religion, the strongest criticism against the misrepresentation of religion and the strongest criticism against this making these artificial compartments and making them mutually exclusive is in the religious text itself. Okay. Bible talks about it, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Quran talks about it. We name a single group that the Quran criticizes which is not religious. Every single group addressed in the Quran is a religiously misrepresentation of religiously motivated people. When religious authorities stop doing this, then yes, people are going to come up from outside of religion, and we owe them for waking us up for opening our eyes to these aspects of our religion. Otherwise we would have thought like religion has nothing to do with this world.
What other dimensions were there?
Exactly. And there would have been that you would have been continuously detached and people would be abusing it. So these people actually opened up people's eyes to the abuses also.
For example, if Sigmund Freud is talking about that religion can be a fragment of your desires or a product of your desires, the Quran talks about it. أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Have you seen the one who has taken his desires to be his God? That's so, like, if he's talking about it now, then the Quran spoke about it at that time, accepting this as a reality. Yes, in a reaction, when you come up with a reactionary ideology, then you tend to go to another extreme and you say this is all there is. There is no other reality to religion. So we don't go to that absolutizing extent. But why is he absolutizing? Because before, the religious representatives were absolutizing their claims.
Yeah, but then there's one last thing which I want to ask, and that is, what are the witnesses that the Jal's probably around?
See, now that we talk about it, we look at the hadith, we look about the interests, the details that are given, he's going to have a lot of power over material resources.
So that can be money itself?
That can be money itself, the scientific exfoliation, the technological advancement that we've seen over the past century, unprecedented. Their control over the resources of the world that have developed, and along with that, the devastations with respect to the wars that this has led to. Because we've scientifically and technologically advanced.
Yeah.
But if you've lost out morality, then what's to stop anyone from bombing Hiroshima or Nagasaki?
Exactly.
What's to stop them? So what? We're animals, evolutionary products, survival of the fittest. It's either us or you. Let's just get rid of you. Push a bomb out with you. We are the supreme nation of the world. So all of these things have started happening. Why all of this happened? Because not based in sound knowledge. I'm going to skip an ayah, and it says to the Messenger ﷺ, فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ. So you may probably kill yourself out of grief over their consequences. The consequences of them not accepting the reform that Quran is offering religion, and them persisting in these innovations and the rights that they give to themselves to make any claims in religion that they want to, the extreme reaction and consequences which we have seen in hindsight, he was seeing in foresight, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. It was grieving him so much that the Quran says, you might just kill yourself out of grief. إِلَّمْ يُؤْمِنُوا بِهَذَا الْحَدِيثِ أَسَفًا. If they do not believe in this Quran.
So then how do we conclude it now?
Now we conclude it by the understanding we've made. Religion has that same interpretation, that reaction that happened in Europe when after colonization, the same ideology came to our part of the world. And so we started viewing religion from the same lens, at least the more educated and intellectual of us, as religion was viewed in that reactionary Renaissance understanding. So push the Maulvi to the masjid. And why did that become, was it accepted here? Because people felt that they're not representing us anymore. They're becoming more and more irrelevant to our context, to our problems. We'd rather have leaders who are not founded in religion, at least they know what we're going through. Because those understandings, those dualistic perspectives of compartmentalizing, separating dunya from akhirah, and forget everything about dunya, and dunya is meager and lowly, that had led people to all these sufferings that they were suffering, and religion doesn't seem to care anymore. So when people were seeing this, they're like, fine, if that's what it is, then we'll take the more secular or the less religious people or the irreligious people as our leaders, as long at least they care about what we're suffering from. We need to learn a lesson from that, and as a result, we need to understand, let's not go into an other reaction to this reaction. Also, they're talking about dunya again, let's now focus all our energies on the other three. Let's understand that when the Quran talks about God, when the Quran talks about the spirit, when the Quran talks about the afterlife, those concepts include the concepts of this universe, the concepts of this life, and the needs of this physical body, without neglecting their needs, rather honoring them with their rightful place. To the effect that I would say this with a lot of conviction, that the way that the Messenger ﷺ has honored this world, it's a world which is signs of Allah. How much more sacred can it get? How much more sacred can it get? It is ayat of Allah. What the Quran calls its own verses are called ayat in the universe, right? So we need to take that into consideration.
Very well said.
Wonderful. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was really fascinating and really good, teaching today, and I think something that's very relevant. But we have to go for a short break. When you come back, we're going to be talking about something very relevant, which is happening within Pakistan. Stay tuned.